Cutting from the newspaper The Star, Wednesday, June 21st, 1944. Killed landing tanks. Able seaman Lawrence Batty of Main Road, Darnall, Sheffield, was killed on D-Day while helping to land tanks on the coast of France. His sister, Mrs. E. Bunting, and his father, Mr. T. Batty, have received a message of sympathy from the King and Queen, and also the notifications that he was buried at sea after the tanks had been safely landed. Able seaman Batty was employed by the Nunnery Colliery Company Limited. HM LCT898 Mark IV Major Landing Craft. A strange monster which behaved like a crocodile on the shore, half in and half out of the water, and like an elephantine boot box at sea. She was my first command, and I was very proud of her. No commanding officer could have been blessed with a more loyal and hard-working crew. A.B. Porter, my signalman, became my good and valuable companion through many a middle watch on the bridge. Seaman gunners A.B. St. L. Batty and A.B.'s G. Wells, J. McKinnon and R.V. Hood had honed themselves into superlative gunners with Ehrlichen, Tommy guns, Sten and Lancaster, and also with the rifle, and could give a good account of themselves in unarmed combat. In leading Seaman G. Tyson, I was fortunate in having a well-trained and experienced coxswain from general service. In the engine room department again, I was fortunate in having my namesake, P.O.M.M.W. Flynn, in charge, ably assisted by Stoker A. Hutchings and Stoker William Sawdy. I sat down with my first lieutenant, Sub-Lieutenant Willis, and looked at all these young, expectant faces. Well, I began, this is it. We are off tonight, and we beach tomorrow morning at Lion-sur-Mer at 08:15. Stabbing my finger at the chart laid on the mess table, I said, I don't want any heroes. Our job is to get the army safely there, beach them dry-shod, get the tanks off, and get back here for more tanks to support the poor bastards who will be fighting for their lives. The daylight hours came and went, and soon it was time for main engines, coxswain on the wheel, gun crews close up, and all the hustle and bustle of a ship alive and underway. It always gave me a thrill of excitement, and never more so than on the night of Monday the 5th of June 1944. We were on our way. June 6th was to be D-Day. Aldis lights flashed as fleet numbers were exchanged and craft manoeuvred for their correct position in the embryo convoy. For the purpose of the initial assault, I was to form part of the 41st LCT flotilla and land at Sword Beach on Queen Red Beach by Lion-sur-Mer. I had no illusions about the Germans. Although they fought for an idiot's evil regime, they were a brave, resourceful and cunning enemy, and Rommel a superb general. We were in for a hard day. All was going well. Dawn had come, and by the growing light everything seemed in perfect order. I was on the bridge with A.B. Porter and 2 army officers. Breakfast had just been placed on the chart table, when suddenly there was the most almighty explosion. A wall of cordite-impregnated seawater erupted from the port side, ascended to a height of about 50 feet, and then came crashing down on the bridge and my still untouched breakfast. I looked around. There wasn't an army officer to be seen. The engine room reported that the shell had blown in the sea inlet suction valve, and they would do everything they could to get it right before we beached. Enveloped by a continuous deafening roar, which marked the tumultuous sounds of the bombardment, we reached the assault area and formed into line abreast. Then the group commander in his HQ ship chose this very moment to steam east to west, which meant he was going right across the front of the now advancing landing craft, each doing emergency full ahead. I was on the extreme right of the flotilla, and it became plain that unless I altered course, I was about to ram him amidships. Reluctantly, I reduced speed and altered course to port, and gave him sufficient sea room to take avoiding action. The headquarters ship at least had the courtesy to signal "thank you," As a consequence, I fell astern of my next in line, so that when the German battery of 88mm guns opened fire, the shell hit another ship in the area I would have been. Sadly, I saw that 3 of his tanks had been set alight. I went in between 2 of Rommel's beach obstructions, steel tripods with a telemine set at the apex, but unavoidably hit the next. I signalled on the klaxon for the winch crews to close up. I looked at the chronometer. It was exactly 08:15 hours. Everything was still going smoothly until simultaneously with the bow ramp dropping, a shell entered obliquely from the starboard side and blasted its way through the port winch house. The crew of the winch house sustained shrapnel wounds, but nevertheless remained at their posts. 2 near misses starboard side aft now swamped the bridge and did further damage in the engine room. The 70-ton pump was sufficient to prevent serious flooding, but we were starting to get in serious trouble. Then another direct hit from a German mortar shell on the port winch house killed ABSTL Batty, seriously wounded AB G. Wells and wounded AB J. McKinnon. Meanwhile, amazingly, the tanks were going ashore miraculously unharmed into the midst of all this mayhem. Another near miss forward had caused shrapnel to enter the starboard winch house, injuring my first lieutenant, Sub-Lieutenant E.R. Willis. By this time there remained only 1 tank to go ashore. I had sent A.B. Porter below to assist the first lieutenant with the wounded, and so I was now alone on the bridge. I had to make a strong effort of willpower to stand on the raised duckboard and expose the upper part of my body over the parapet of the bridge in order to encourage the remaining tank to get off so that I could unbeach. This accomplished, another near miss caused damage to the superstructure on the quarter deck, shrapnel entering the wheelhouse, wounding the coxswain, leading Seaman G. Tyson, but he nevertheless remained on the wheel. It was now 08:22 hours. All this had taken just 7 minutes. To add to it all, I observed the army major on the beach unbelievably walking about with his walking stick, surrounded by his tanks. His officers were literally screaming at him to mount his command tank and get moving. I signalled to Hutchings, and we were able to raise the ramp sufficiently to unbeach. At 08:34 hours, the 1 remaining winch wire and the anchor cable leading from aft gave under the dead weight, and the bow ramp now hung directly from its hinges. It acted on the ship like a sea anchor. Progress was slow. The first lieutenant, assisted by A.B.'s Hood, Fowler and Porter, were treating the more seriously wounded in the army shelter on the tank deck. Amputation of 2 of A.B. Wells's fingers had to be carried out there and then using scissors. At 10:58 hours, I requested permission to go alongside the hospital ship, HMS Princess Astrid. I transferred the dead body of A.B. Batty and the seriously injured A.B. Wells and McKinnon, but retained on board the first lieutenant and the coxswain. This was my first opportunity to speak to A.B. George Wells. Although seriously injured and pumped full of morphine, he remained cheerful throughout and was concerned only for his messmates. I took this opportunity also to visit the engine room and found that stoker William Sordy had stripped and was in the bilges attempting to stem the inrush of water with materials supplied by and with the assistance of Stoker A. Hutchings and P.O. Flynn. The following morning, 7th June at 08:35 hours, the port engine broke down, but we got it repaired. I finally reached Gilkicker Point, Portsmouth at 13:10 hours, when my first lieutenant and coxswain were taken ashore for hospital treatment. The return journey had taken 29 hours, truly the longest day. I was alone when there came a knock on the cabin door. It was A.B. Fowler. "Sir, I have been chosen by the remainder of the crew to thank you for getting us back." After he had left, I laid my head in my hands on the wardroom table and wept. A.B.G. Wells was deservedly awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, and Stoker 1 W. Sordy and I were mentioned in dispatches. Finally, may I add a tribute to A.B. St. Lawrence Batty, the rating who was killed. He was a senior rating of great character who had refused all offers of further advancement in order to remain part of the ship's company. He was a Sheffield lad who demonstrated all the true grit of that great county and a true patriot. Charles Flynn, 1 Stuart Crescent, Shirley, Croydon, Surrey.